are live. Cool. All the platforms looks good.
To be checked up in my end, so looks good.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our deep dive stream on growing in sustainability-focused business in 2024. For those joining us for the first time, deep dive streams are dedicated to helping entrepreneurs overcome their business challenges. As always, we have our leading marketing and networking expert, Vic Nichols, hosting this show. Today, we're excited to have a very inspiring guest, Maria Bayo, the founder of REPSource. If you would like to be a guest on one of our streams to find solutions for your business, please email us at vmn@victormnichols.com or DM me. My name is Diana Spinka. I'm the producer of the show. If you have any questions during the stream, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll leave your question in the comment section, and we will be happy to help you out. Maria, thank you for joining us today. Please tell us about your company and what inspired you to start this project.
Thank you for having me. That was a great intro. So my company is REPSource. Well, to give you a little background on myself, I am 25. I'm from Northern New Jersey. I followed my very short-winded lacrosse career to St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. And after I graduated, I was lucky enough to get a job working with Arthrex. So that was kind of my introduction into the medical device world. And that's really where I learned the ins and outs of hospital facilities in New York City, how I learned how to navigate them. I built some really foundational relationships there as well. And that was where REPSource was born. So I was shocked by how much waste was generated in the hospitals, and not just specific to any type of procedure or department, but just in general. There was so much waste. And in all fairness, you're never going to go into a surgery with the bare minimum, but I was just shocked that all of these items that were perfectly clean and sterile and in their packaging were just being thrown out in the general trash. You know, there's a bin for everything in the operating room. There's a bin for sharps, for biohazard. Everything has a place to go, but these items were just being thrown in the general trash. So that's kind of where the idea of REPSource initially came from. I would be in like 3 to 4 surgeries a day in different facilities, and I would notice that oftentimes if a doctor came into a surgery and the patient was maybe a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than they expected, or there was a fly in the room or something crazy, the entire room would have to get switched around. They would have to take every single item that was in there, throw it out in the general trash, and then start over again. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. How do these items not have a home? They could be put to such better use. So I actually started collecting all of these items and hoarding them in my apartment until I figured, a way to figure out what to do with these things. So I actually brought the idea to a wonderful doctor at NYU who really helped me push this initiative along. And I came up with the idea of having our own bin in the operating room. So now REPSource gives a home to these items that are sterile, clean. Oftentimes they aren't even touched before the patient even comes in the room. And through a process of collection and distribution, I'm able to recycle some of these items, repurpose them, and donate a few of them back to our healthcare system. So that's REPSource in a nutshell.
That's fantastic. I just love that, because I don't think people understand. We talk about sustainability, and it's a huge thing, but for some people, it's more like a buzzword. You know what I mean? They don't really actually know what that means.
Yeah.
Well, you actually put a fine point on it, which I think is fascinating, because I would have never in a million years thought of this.
Yeah. I think that sustainability is so great because there's so many avenues that you can go. You can recycle these items, you can reuse them. I think it's a really creative space that there's kind of endless possibilities.
Yeah. Excellent. I love it.
Yeah, but it's a new business. When did you start?
So I think I got the ball rolling about 3 or 4 years ago, just kind of poking my head into NYU. Eventually, I was able to sit in on a bunch of the Going Green panels. So that's a team that was devised through NYU Langone Orthopedic Hospital. and just kind of over time was able to pitch them my idea. And a few months ago, about June 3rd, was when we got the green light to launch at NYU Langone Orthopedic Hospital. So that's what really catapulted us into the space. And there's other companies that take the supplies, if there's a natural disaster or something that these supplies are needed for, and then they'll use them in that capacity, to ship them off overseas or use them for something specific, but there's no cure for wasting these items. So we are kind of pioneering this space of collecting clean medical supplies.
Mm-hmm.
That's excellent. Yeah. So tell me, what are the challenges that you are facing right now? Because sustainability, I guess it's a not that explored niche, and every business is different. So I'm wondering, what are the challenges that you are facing?
Yeah, I think just in terms of being new to this, I've never started a company. I'm pretty much just going off of my own ideas and talking to as many people as I can. I think in terms of healthcare and sustainability, you want to just make sure that you're following guidelines. A lot of people are a bit hesitant to even question or, have an idea of taking supplies out of an operating room. Are they contaminated? Can you do something like this? But if you really sit down and break it down, how wasteful this is, people are more excited to hear about the initiative. So I think just getting our name out there, getting people on board with what we can do with these supplies. That's kind of what I'm struggling with now, is getting our name out there and just getting everybody on board with REPSource, having the bins in their operating rooms.
I'm curious, once you have that opportunity to talk to those folks, are they receptive after you kind of deal with the elephant in the room, so to speak? You know what I mean? With, hey, can you really do this? Because I remember I had something in my career where we had the same kind of a thing. It wasn't in medical. It was actually within wine and spirits. But there was an elephant in the room, and it was apartheid. We were bringing things over from South Africa, and they were like, yeah, that's all great, and that's all well and good, and this is a great product, but what about apartheid? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we had to deal with that first before we talked about our product. So I'm wondering, are you able to get over that hump? When that because it really is the elephant in the room if somebody believes that, hey, I don't want to get involved in this,
Yeah. I think initially with sustainability, a lot of people either, you have two ends of the spectrum, people who really care about it and are really eco-conscious, and then other people who couldn't care less, and that's not really at the forefront of their mind.
Right.
But I think what's great about sustainability is maybe people aren't always seeking it out. They're not looking for initiatives like this, but the second you bring it to them, they're usually very receptive to it.
Yeah, that's great. That's good news. That's very good.
Good. That's what's helped us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's start with the questions that you have for Vic. I know that you prepared a few. So what is the most pressing issue that you would love to discuss here?
So this kind of contradicts what I was just saying, because there are a lot of naysayers with sustainability as well. But I did want to get your opinion or advice on how you approach conversations with these naysayers, people who are kind of like, we don't have enough waste, or, this initiative is just adding another check in our checklist or something else for our staff to do. We don't need this, so you can move along. How would you?
I mean, for me, again, I'm going to put myself in your place, and selling's what I absolutely love to do. And this question is really a function of sales. It's communication, but it's really a function of sales. Those naysayers, if in fact, I'm going to make an assumption that you're already in front of them, right? That they're giving you this pushback, but you're at least in a dialogue with them. You know what I mean? It's not like they just summarily dismissed you from an email or something like that. I mean, you're actually talking to them. It's really, for me, it's the indoctrination into the idea that the juice is worth the squeeze. If they have the feeling that they have to participate in this and they have to put resources toward it, okay? Like you mentioned, they have to have somebody in the room to make sure that this is getting done or something along those lines. I always would lead with, what is the actual benefit? Okay, what's the benefit? Let's forget about what your perceived cost might be, but what's the benefit? Well, the benefit is obviously the sustainability part, obviously being true to our environment. But the other piece is public relations. Okay, there's another avenue here, which is saying, by the way, this is really good news for your public and for the people who are coming to this hospital, that you are interested in this, because even if the powers that be are not all jazzed about it, if they think it's going to make them look good, they become jazzed about it. Okay. There's a lot of people who've made a lot of decisions based upon their customer base. And I'm certainly not going to call out names, but you can see all the things that are happening with some of these major companies where they've done things to, let's say, include people, and their core base says, and they speak with their pocketbooks. Okay. They're interested in having positive feedback from the people that they're serving, even if they personally don't feel that that's something that they really want to get involved in.
It's all about how you look, definitely.
Exactly. And I always try to encourage new, medium-sized businesses, old, long-term. I always try to encourage them to bring in that PR, that marketing avenue, because image is king.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a big cascade effect with that too. Like once you hear, oh, NYU is doing this, then everybody else wants to get involved.
Exactly.
Especially
it's until you get that, it's really the tail wagging the dog. But once you get somebody involved in that, in somebody like that stature, people are like, wait a minute, if it's good enough for them, we probably should jump on the bandwagon because we want to look like we don't care about sustainability.
Yes, exactly. And I think if you aren't pushing a sustainable model right now, you're extremely behind.
I completely agree.
In all aspects.
I so agree with you, Marie. You're right. You're right on target. Right on target.
Yeah, so I agree. It's word of mouth. It's getting people on board, getting people excited about it too. We actually have an incentive initiative with the staff at NYU just to get them motivated, because they're busy. It's hard. They work long hours. So I have had in-services with the staff prior to launching the bins in NYU, just showing them all the waste and showing them presentations. And every Monday we have this incentive, whoever is promoting positivity and sustainability and mentioning REPSource, or making sure that their colleagues aren't throwing any items that could go in the REPSource bin in the trash, and they get somebody, whoever the winner is, come next Monday, gets a Starbucks gift card. So it's coffee on us for thank you.
Or matcha. Or matcha.
Whatever your flavor is. So yeah, I think it's created some good morale over there, and they all really like it.
Question about your in-services, real quick. Are you filming any of them?
I actually filmed one of them. I have like a 10-second clip of me talking to the staff at NYU, but no, I actually have not filmed.
Well, I mean, you may, because it's a hospital situation. You may just you get releases from the people who are participating, which is no big deal. It's just a release paper. But I would urge you to film them.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Usually it's just me rambling kind of like this.
If you film those, talk about, I mean, Deanna, I know is in her mind saying, I am so proud of him. He's finally learning.
Yeah, because I say it every time. Like before every event, I send a note to Vic. I'm like, I hope you're filming this. Are you filming this? You're filming this, right?
Maria, I'm like getting in the car and I'm getting this text saying, Vic, you should really make sure that you film this stuff.
You forget. Diana has this type of mindset. I forget to film it as well.
Yeah, but if you do that, even what you could do, in my opinion, and I think Deanna will weigh in on it as well. But in my opinion, you could just pick one or two and then actually bring somebody to film it. Yeah, bring somebody to film it. Film the whole thing, and then you can always chop it up, and you can pull the highlights, and you can pull you can do a lot with it. But I think that's so powerful because it's also going to talk to what we touched on earlier. You can show those kinds of things to the naysayers, right? And say, and oh, by the way, this is how we do it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in today's day and age, everything is on TikTok or Instagram Reels. And I mean, that's how I feel like I get my information, TikTok.
Sure.
University.
I got to be honest with you. I'm getting more of my, I'm going to confess, I do get more of my information that way than I used to. Now I'm an old schooler, so I don't get all of it that way, but I do get more. So
You drank Kool-Aid.
There's some power there. There's absolutely some power there.
Yeah.
Yeah, TikTok is in like a new Wikipedia.
I know,
Yeah.
it's just so accessible, being able to scroll like that all day long. I learned so much.
So we have a comment from Carrie Block. She's from North Carolina. She says that she loves the idea so much. As a former microbiology worker in OR and a hospital supplies, I had the same thoughts dozens of times each day. And she says, "Go, Maria."
Yeah.
That's another thing, is that it's received really well. Everybody says something like that along the lines of, I wish I thought of this, or I've seen all of that waste. And I feel like that question in most people's mind was just like, wow, this is really wasteful. That's terrible. But that's as far as it went. And so it's exciting now that we have a solution for these items too. So.
And you're also, which dovetails into what we were just talking about, people like this, awesome. And I'm so glad that you made the comment, but there's probably a lot of people out there like that who also can be evangelists to help you move this forward as you grow to a national company.
Yeah.
Because again, I believe that she works in the industry, but she's also a consumer. Okay. We all wear multiple hats. And even though you're right in that industry, you're also a consumer because you use hospital services and you know what I mean? So these things would be important to people in general. And I think that having individuals acting as an advocate, okay, and evangelizing this concept will help push this thing forward. That's why, it's so important to have that social media presence and to jumpstart it. I'm assuming, Marie, I just made an assumption that you're going to be wanting to take this to a national platform.
No, I loved that. Yes, I would love to have REPSource in every single operating room. I think it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Definitely an issue.
Well, now I guess we can move to another question. What is that you want to talk about?
Let me see. So I think another thing in my elevator pitch that I usually give people, I never know whether to go too much into my background and myself and why I got started, or if I should just get to the point and talk more about the environment. And I wanted to get your opinion on, what's a good balance of kind of describing what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and also the REPSource initiative and how it's helping the environment. How would you advise someone who's just starting out not to divulge too much into my personal life, but also making sure I get my point across about my business?
I love this question because it's so awesome. And there are nuances. There's nuances to the question and there are nuances to the answer. When it comes to because you use the word elevator pitch, so I'm gonna stick with that. That, hey, I'm just meeting somebody. I'm going to tell you what I tend to do, and I'm going to tell you what has worked for me in my career. And I've also seen other people do other things that kind of work, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm going to be direct because you know me. I'm very direct. Most people don't really, when they first meet you, they don't really care all that much about you. Okay, that's not what's compelling them. What's compelling them is the way in which you're approaching them, the way in which you're, and the passion that you have for what it is that you do. Okay. I always lead in with what I do before I tell them anything about me, my background, if they even want that information at that short time period, because you're only going to get that, you only get that little clip. It's going in with what is your passion, what's the differentiation about what you do, and then reading them as to how they're responding to that. Is this something that they lean in and say, "Ooh, this is interesting. tell me more? Or is this something where they're like got their feet pointed the other way and they're looking for 5 other people in the room because they're really completely totally uninterested? So I always try to gauge the interest level by how people respond to what it is that I do, and then get into, once it gets past that, because in many cases it does, especially if you're at an event that is about networking, some people are just going to be courteous. They're just going to listen to what it is you have to say. And I think it's far more important, and it's always worked better for me in the way I do it, is to let people know what's my differentiator. What am I passionate about? Yes, you have to tell them what you do, because what I do is something that a lot of other people do. You are in a position which is very unique. There's not a lot of people who do what you do. So you are swimming, you're a fish you're a big fish in a pond, because there's not a whole lot of people doing it.
Yeah, so, I'm constantly explaining.
Right. So I would lead in with that, and then yes, I'm Maria, and I'm blah blah blah, and I've got, and this is why I did it. The why is great, and you will want to get to the why, and once you hook them, they're going to want you to get to the why.
Yeah.
But if you start out with the why, it might be, well, that's nice, but so it's flip for me. It's always been flipping the script, and you're going to find that other people may disagree with me. And that's absolutely awesome. But in my opinion, for the almost 40 years I've been in business, that's kind of the way I've done it. I didn't do it that way originally because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was like, hi, I'm Vic Nichols, you're going to want to buy whatever it is I've got to sell. Well, that's not necessarily the case. So I approached it the other way, which is what are those value propositions? What might that be of interest to someone, and then get into the other part. So that to me I wanted to spend a minute on that, because it's more important than you think. You're just meeting these people.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think sometimes I'll catch myself, and they'll be like, who are you again? Actually, what is this? And I'm like, oh, well, and then you kind of get back into it. You turn off your
right.
sales cap, and
because you do want people, they do want to know who you are, but they want to know who you are after they feel that there's a reason to want to know who you are. Okay. If they don't feel there's a reason to want to know who you are, they're like, okay, I got things to do.
And it's also just reading the room. Sometimes somebody might just be having a bad day and they don't want to hear your elevator pitch, and it's like, I'll catch you at another time.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Maria. That's so, aside from the fact that it's brilliantly intuitive, it happens more than you think.
Yeah.
People show up to a networking event and they're just not in the game. Mm-hmm. And if you are astute enough to pick up on that, that can be a massive win.
Yeah. Where I'm just like, please, nobody talked. I can't talk to one more person today. And I think in sales too, timing is everything. If you're catching somebody on a bad day, maybe giving them that pitch could wait a few more days, and then it could open up another door. So I think timing is really important as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. So glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Do you want to play it out, like to see how we can, when you pitch what you say, and maybe we can.
If you were that's a good idea. If you're just meeting me, Maria, obviously we know each other, but if you were just meeting me, lay it on me.
Give you my pitch. Well, I think initially I don't really have to explain too much about the wastefulness, but if I was describing, so a lot of people that I'm pitching to, not necessarily people in healthcare, but people who aren't in healthcare or who just want to hear about the idea, and maybe they're on the opposite end, they're helping recycle these items, or they're helping me repurpose these items. They aren't in the operating room every day. So to explain it to somebody who doesn't fully understand what it is to be in an operating room setting, I like to describe it as like when you order takeout to your house. They come to your door and it's a bag with, your dinner, and then it comes with forks, knives, napkins, plates, etc. But you're ordering this to your house. You already have all of those supplies in your home. And that's kind of the same thing with when you're in an operating room and why there's so much waste. The doctor will request, okay, I'm doing a knee surgery on the right side. So the staff, the circulators, everybody setting up that room knows the kits that are involved in that. And then there's a few other ones that the doctor might request. And in those kits, they come with all of these ancillary supplies. So extra syringes or extra tourniquets or whatever you would need to perform that surgery is going to be in that kit. Same thing with the takeout. Everything you need to have your dinner is in that bag, but you already have those items, and much like the operating room, you already have those supplies in the hospital. So they're just getting thrown out and there's nowhere for them to go. So that's where I get into REPSource, and what our receptacle bin provides is a home for these items. And yeah, and I think what's great actually, which I didn't mention earlier, with NYU, and I think a lot of facilities, is they're like, we don't generate that much waste. We're not that wasteful. Our kits don't have that much in them. But what we found, and that was the biggest concern with NYU, is that they run a tight ship over there. They think that they don't waste that much, but it's not them. It's just the nature of surgery. Yeah, it comes with a ton of waste. So initially, I thought that we would have a weekly pickup at NYU or bi-weekly, at best. And I've actually had to go in every single day for a pickup because the bins fill up so fast. So it's been amazing to see just how great the turnout has been.
Something popped into my head when you were saying that, because when somebody says to you, well, we really don't have all that much waste and whatever, do you offer within your services basically a discovery, like an assessment, where you say, you know what, in your head, you wouldn't necessarily say this to someone, but in your head, you're like, well, maybe you think you don't have that much waste, but you probably know. Okay, right.
Let me show it to you. Let's launch our bins in the operating room. And we do offer, I'll tell them, we have a collection and a log of all the items and the quantity of them. But they saw it in real time, because the staff was like, hey, these need to be picked up daily. They keep filling up, per surgery almost. It would be crazy for me to pick up per surgery because there's 16 operating rooms at NYU, but I've been able to do daily, and that still seems like it's not fast enough. But yeah, usually I'll pivot that in my sales way and say, why don't we launch and you can see for yourself, and then they tend to see it right away.
That's great. So you give them the opportunity to have a test run.
Yeah, and I'll show them what we've done previously so that they have a little bit of context.
Okay, cool. By the way, I absolutely love the food analogy to the house, because it is relatable to every human being on the planet.
I can't take credit for that one. It is a really good analogy, and
it's because it does. I mean, I know there are times where I'm like, not only that, but I've ordered from a place that I've ordered from for like years, so they know it's to my house.
Yeah.
And they still put the stuff in there.
Yeah. And they're never not going to. They're, God forbid, who knows? You probably don't run out of forks at your house, but at least you have those items. They're not going to just change it for one person. And same with the operating room. You're never going to go in with the bare minimum. So
right.
You need to find a way to deal with that.
No, that's excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
I want to remind our listeners, you can actually ask your questions in the comment section. Thank you a lot, Neil and Carrie, for making comments. I appreciate a lot that you're listening and you're engaged in our conversation. Neil also says that video testimonials would be good for a business and for your next speeches. Thank you for your comment, Neil.
All right.
I should get some video testimony. Again, I have to remind myself to take out the camera and start recording.
Well, this is, I mean, like I said, this is kind of really, Deanna, I know, is in her head saying, yeah, because it took me a while. I got to tell you, Maria, it took me a while. So I don't want to pretend that I was like, oh yeah, I immediately adopted this idea of, videoing and things because I didn't. I absolutely didn't. As a matter of fact, I almost pushed back against it.
Yeah.
Because I was in business for so long and the change was so rapid that I almost couldn't, assimilate it. You know what I mean? Now you're in a slightly different position because it's been here as you've moved through but it wasn't here for the majority of my existence in business. It wasn't here. So I'm like, okay, I'm accustomed to using a telephone, and now I'm like, now I've got to get involved in this whole video thing and all the rest of it. But it's been transformative.
Yeah,
it really has been. And doing it and making it not a chore and doing it regularly has really been transformative as far as my connectivity, being back in contact with people that already know me, that I have been able to reach out to, and they're like, "Oh, Vic, I saw your thing. It made me think of you." And they reach back out to me, and we end up doing some business together. That kind of stuff. It's priceless.
Yeah, you can reach so many different demographics that you wouldn't be able to, or you wouldn't have been able to years ago, just from videos and things popping up randomly. And so it's definitely something that I'm looking to be a bit more open on.
Well, it's a habit. I understand that, me as a social media person, like that's the first thing I'm thinking about. But you as a business owner, you think about are selling your services, you're thinking about getting new customers and growing and like picking up things. So like that, I understand that it's not the first thing you would, like, oh, I'm going to a page, let me bring my camera. Like it's not going to work that way. It has to be written somewhere.
I need to be reminded. Maybe I'll just keep a note on my hand or something.
Yeah, I do that. And of course I have Deanna to help me with that.
Yeah.
So what are other things you want to talk about? Because I remember us having a conversation and we listed a few more things.
Yeah, let me see. Because we did touch on a few things. So we did kind of talk about this in terms of explaining too much about yourself, or the elevator pitch thing. But what tactics do you think are the best to use that are related to like do you think having a good attitude, being persistent, being prepared, having a lot of knowledge when you're going into a sales pitch have been most effective to your business? What do you think has helped you the most? Do you find that you're more prepared when you've done your research, or when you have a mutual connection with this person, or what works best for you?
That is a very good question. And
we opened the Pandora box.
It does. It opens up a whole box of stuff. Because I mean, I think every successful salesperson or pitch person has the personality has obviously something to do with it. I have always said to everybody I've spoken to, we're all salespeople. Okay. Just some of us are better than others. Okay. Some of us have an innate, knack for that because we are into actual people and we're interested. But it's kind of like going on a date. It really is. It's being interested in the person that you are interacting with more than you're interested in telling them about you. Okay. And I've always found that has worked for me. Again, there will be other tactics and other people who are going to say this guy's out of his mind or whatever. But for me, it's always worked because I really, really I'm super interested in people, and I'm genuinely interested in what they're about and what they're up to. So I'm always gauging what that interaction is. And I want to actually, and I know you're not even going to believe this because I am somewhat loquacious in my, demeanor. However, I do like to listen. Okay. As opposed to talking.
I believe it.
Especially when I'm trying to open up a relationship with somebody, I will say, hey, I'll prompt and then I'll listen, because a prospect or someone you're pitching, especially if you don't know what their problem really is, or if the solution you have is the solution to the problem they have. Okay. You've got to be really careful about that and say, you know what? I really need to understand what their problem is before I start telling them what the solution is.
Might not be what they're looking for.
Right. And they will tell you if you let them talk. Because people always get to the pain if you let them talk enough.
Yeah.
And once they tell you what the pain is, Maria, if you've got the solution for the pain, that puts you to the head of the class, because now they're going to listen to what it is that you have to say. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to help them find the pain, right? You have to lead them to what their pain is. And in your particular situation, like you said, there are going to be prospects who are like, I don't need this. We don't have much waste and blah, blah, blah. But you can lead them to that by saying talking a little bit about your experience, a little bit about why you'd want to do this. Then if they're really hard, move into the marketing piece, and say, oh, by the way, all of that is absolutely fantastic for the environment. It's fantastic for your business, but it's also good public relations. Oh, and by the way, this is going to bring you more business. This could bring you more business because there's people who really do care about this. And all of a sudden it's like, I think I'm going to listen a little bit more about what Maria has to say.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
I totally agree. I think 50% of your sales pitch has to be listening, because like if I'm pitching to somebody who is in healthcare and in the operating room every day, I probably won't give them the takeout analogy, because they're like, yeah, no, I get it. I've seen it. I would explain to them a bit more about what we're doing on the back end with all the supplies and everything. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, even from the brief amount of time that I've spent talking to you, you are extremely intuitive. And you are further ahead of the game than a lot of people are, especially a lot of people at your age or at any age. I mean, I know salespeople who are, my age who still haven't really figured that out yet. They've been able to survive, but they haven't been able to thrive. And there's a difference. You can survive in a sales job. You absolutely can, and be a mediocre salesperson, because there's plenty of jobs that don't really require you to sell. They just require you to take orders.
Yeah.
You're not out there selling because the need is so needed. There is such a big, desire for what you have. You're just taking orders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not actually a liquor sales rep doesn't have to sell, the top tequila. Okay? They just have to find out if their customers have run out of it and how much more they want to order. That's not a sell. It's a taking an order.
Yeah.
And you can survive and make a very good living that way, but that's not selling.
No, I know what you mean. And I agree. Thank you, by the way. But I agree with you as well that I actually do love meeting people and forming new relationships. And I am interested in hearing about them. And a lot of my success has just been really paying attention to what people are saying. That one doctor that I linked up with at NYU, I was in his operating room and I knew that he had a really strict checklist of what could and couldn't be opened, because he was very eco-conscious. And I was like, oh, he would be a good person to talk to, or who's a good person to mention this to, who runs the operating room. So I think just being really aware of the people surrounding you and taking note of every little thing that has definitely helped me along the way.
If you could get that doctor to just like a 5-second or 6-second, why he was so interested in, oh my God, that would be gold bullion. Okay. Because he could help so much by having that kind of a testimonial. And oh my God, that would be so powerful.
I think I just need to jack up my marketing team and cut the sales.
Well, you bring up something that's really important. There are so many people, and my partner Larry and I have this conversation all the time about so many people that are really, really seasoned at what they do, but they say, I'm going to market this, I'm going to market that, I'm going to market this, and like both of us look at each other and said, that's not marketing. Okay, that's selling, but it's not marketing. They are inexplicably connected. They really are. However, they're different. Okay. There are marketing, things you do for marketing and falls on the marketing and advertising side of the fence. And there are things that you do on sales promotion, things that are sales driven.
Yeah.
They do meet, but they're separate. And I think a lot of people, and I'm so glad that you brought that up though, as far as marketing, you making that kind of tongue in cheek that you need to up your marketing, because it's important to have both.
Yeah.
It's very important to have both. You've got to be able to close. You've got to be identify who's good, who it is, but you also have to get that marketing and the branding and that out into the marketplace, so people have something to kind of hang their hat on when you do get to them, Yeah,
totally. It's a way to back up sales, because you can, pitch I can pitch this until I'm blue in the face, but they're like, okay, let's see your LinkedIn. Do you have any brochures? Can you, and it's now in today's day and age, you have to have visuals for people to show them, like, here's a photo, here's a cart in the operating room that's all wasted items, look at this. And then they're like, oh, wow, yeah, you're right.
Exactly. And it's so much easier to show somebody a picture or a video or whatever than it is to tell them about it.
Yes. Because also in sales, you have a lot of people who make things up.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's to me, as you can tell, I'm somewhat excited about this because it's something that I really didn't know about. And it's very educational for me to hear about what it is that you're doing, because again, I hear sustainability. And I'm like, well, very few people have actually defined that. We just need to save the planet. Well, you know what? That's such a broad statement. Somebody has to get down granular and tell me exactly what that is, because, it's like getting that new thing and that new gadget that you ordered from Amazon and it comes with no directions, like, well, that's great, but I still don't know how to use it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you going to change the planet?
Yeah. So you're doing something that's very, very, very impactful and understandable. And I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much.
We also wanted to talk about Vic's favorite topic, which is collaborations. Maria, could you please tell me what is that you want to talk about related to collaborating with different companies? Yeah.
So we are small and growing, and there are a ton of companies who are already very established in the space. And I did have a question of, everybody says don't grow too fast. We have our 16 operating rooms with NYU and a few other smaller facilities. But what am I going to do with all these things? And right now, there's a bit of a time constraint with the supplies that we get. So they do expire. So then those items can't be used anymore. So the items that we want to reintroduce into the healthcare system, they do need to be moved fairly quickly so that they're viable. And then there's the other aspect of it, recycling. I didn't realize that on top of all the supplies that we were collecting, we also have so much plastic, just like containers that they come in or trays that all of the draping come on. So an avenue that I want to take with that is melting it down and making it into something else. There's a ton of companies that are doing that as well. And I am toying with, okay, do I wait and allow us to grow and be able to sustain that ourselves? Or should I collaborate with another company? Or there's some companies reaching out to us that want to repurpose some of our draping. And I don't want to make a move too quickly, but I don't want to waste a good opportunity. So I was just curious to get your feedback on what you think about that in terms of collaborating and chopping up the business or
what I'm hearing is that some people are either taking notice for whatever reason, whether they're seeing that you're already there and they're reaching out to you, because you're telling me that they're actually reaching out to you. You're not reaching out to them. One way I would handle that, because I can hear by the way you phrase the question, that you may not be absolutely positively sure that you're in the position that you want to make that leap, with that particular company for that particular service. If I were you, I would do copious research with them, engage them, and let them tell you all about what it is that they're going to bring to the party and why that's something that you should consider to do. Let them sell you. Okay. And I say that way is because they've approached you, and that's a wonderful position to be in if you're savvy enough to leverage it. Okay. Because they are going to try their best to convince you, right? Get the information, get all the data, do the background, check them out, because you're not in any hurry to make a decision, because you just told me that you don't know whether you want to do that or whether you not want to do that. So it's not an urgency for you. Okay. But it's going to be something you're going to need down the road. One of two things are going to happen. One, you may make a decision to say, you know what, this is the perfect company for me to partner with. I did all my due diligence. We're going to enter into a strategic alliance because this is the best thing for my business. That's number one. That's outcome potentially number one. Outcome number two is you're going to learn all about what it is that they're doing and say, you know what, I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah.
Okay, because I now understand it because I learned it from somebody who's doing it.
That's true.
And you can use that information to make an educated decision on whether or not this is going to be something you want to do yourself, okay, or not. And this is true of many, many industries. And I'm going to give you an analogy that may help you. As you probably know, as you can see, I've got guitar equipment and things behind me, right? Guitar hanging on the wall, made by a major manufacturer, a Fender manufacturer, and they use parts from different people. They have people who manufacture the pickups. They have people who manufacture their bridges for them. They have, everything. All they do is build the guitar, and then they use other people's stuff to actually electronics and all of those other things. Then there are companies like Duesenberg, which is in Germany. They manufacture every single solitary piece that's on their instrument, down to the tuning pegs.
Mm-hmm.
They buy nothing, even the strings they make. They buy nothing from anybody else because they want to control the integration of their product. Mm-hmm. They want to control the quality of their product, and there are no fluctuations in the quality of the product because they are making everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are two different roads, and you can be successful doing it both ways. So don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. But the question you're asking is, you are in a research mode. Mm-hmm. So you do not feel pressured to make a decision, learn about what it is. And then if you're going to consider to integrate that into your business as you grow, perfect. Mm-hmm. Right? But you go and educate it. You now know what it takes. You know what it entails, what machinery it might be, what licensings you might have to, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how I would approach it.
Yeah. I think another part of that too is a lot of companies know that we're small and we're growing, and it's either they take advantage of that. Not that I've run into that, but they're like, okay, we know that you need us more than we need you. But I think they forget about the other avenue, that if they see what I see and the projected potential that we have, it would be in their best interest to come on with us early on.
and you know what? Again, Maria, you are so on target. This is so much fun. Because that's exactly what you can do. And you can also sit down with them and say, look, guys, you came to me, you saw what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm small, but this is where I'm going. Mm-hmm. So guess what? Here's what you're going to have to do for me now in order to be part of this train as I get bigger. Mm-hmm. Switch it around and let them know that you are their emerging market.
Yeah.
Okay. You are their emerging client. Mm-hmm. And if you get on early, if we come up with a way to work early, you're going to be there as I continue to grow. Because if you're not, somebody else is going to step in. You can actually use that as leverage, even though you're smaller. You can use that as leverage with a bigger company because they want to be there when you grow. And the major companies that understand that, think of a company like American Express. Okay, they have divisions that spend so much time working with very small businesses. Okay, because those businesses aren't generating the kind of money that American Express is looking for. Okay, they're not attracting the kind of customers and the swipes that they're looking for now. Mm-hmm. They know they will if they help them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they give them tools. They give them small business tools and how they can market and how they can promote their things and how using a card, promoting their card to their potential customers can bring more business to them. All of those things will grow the American Express business. But where the business is now is insignificant. Mm-hmm. Where it could be 10 years from now could be massive. That's what they're buying into.
Yeah, that's what I need them to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But is it worth partnering with a larger company because you can actually get access to their vendors? Like you get more connections through a larger company.
Absolutely. Their vendors and the people that they're currently doing business with and the contacts that they currently have is absolutely a conduit for you to be able to grow your business. The other piece of that too, when you're talking about potential partnering, are looking at the folks who are doing what you're doing, that are in the recycling business, but they're not doing the kind of recycling you're doing. Mm-hmm. Because they're already dealing with like-minded people already. Okay. And they can act as conduits to other avenues and say, hey, I'm going to, off the top of my head, because I haven't researched it, but let's say waste management. Okay. The regular garbage people who pick up the garbage at the hospital. Okay. You know, what regular garbage that a hospital has, right? Cups and cuts and what things and whatever. Those people have to recycle, and they have recycling programs, and they have a whole talking to a company that does that has recycling divisions, and say, hey guys, what other hospitals do you service? And would they be interested in this kind of recycling?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, you're talking to a behemoth that would be like, yeah, we have 43 hospitals that we pick up the garbage at. Okay. And what you're offering is a plus.
Yeah.
Let me make an introduction to the facilities person for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think having, knowing someone and getting introduced and having that first step already aired out really has helped me a lot with this. Just being introduced. I say that I'll take any introduction, even if it's, you know, to a janitor. They might know somebody and have a good relationship. And I'm a glorified janitor at this point. So,
but see, you just don't know where those are going to lead to.
Yeah.
You don't know who they know. I got one of my best leads from my mailman.
Really?
From my mailman.
That's crazy.
How did that happen?
Because his brother-in-law owned a pharmaceutical company.
Oh, wow.
And he and I just became friends. I mean, nice guy. And we talked and got to know each other. And, you know, this was years ago when I was actually still over on Garfield Place in Maplewood. And I would see him every day, and we'd talk and we'd laugh and whatever. And then we finally, you know, got into what we, you know, other things that we were doing, because he would ask me what I did, because he sometimes would deliver things. And he said, what the heck do you do? You know, and we talked about it. And then I said, well, I do marketing and advertising and printing. And he goes, you know, I have, a member of my family who's in the pharmaceutical business who I know buys this kind of stuff. You know what? Let me hook you up with him, you know? So that 3 days later, I saw him again. He goes, oh, Vic, I got you the contact information. He actually worked for Pfizer.
Wow.
And I did business with Pfizer for years as a result of my mailman.
That's crazy. It's all about relationships. That's amazing.
You know, so I had no idea. I mean, obviously I wasn't being friendly with him because I thought we were going to be able to do anything for each other. I just happened to like the guy, but but that's, you don't know. You don't know.
No, that's crazy. I love that.
Yeah, it's like one of those success stories, you know, when you're become rich overnight, or something happens in your life and it just like switches the direction of your business.
Yeah.
I think cool story.
No one's too big or too small to talk to. I think everybody's important, especially the mailman.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And once you get that, once people really indoctrinate that into their being and who they are, they will be so much more successful. And there's also a human thing about that too. But you get a lot of, connection to other people, regardless of where they are, is super important. But they also can result in some actual tangible things, not knowing who they may know or what they may might need,
Yeah. And I just started out as a rep. I mean, I still am so grateful to NYU and everybody who even listened to me and took a chance on me and REPSource, and we're getting up there slowly.
Are you kidding me? I know I'm going to be reading about you on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. I just know,
I think so.
One of the most incredibly impactful companies to come out in the last 10 years. Okay. And here's what they're doing. I can see it already.
I like that. Put it into the universe. I'm good with that.
So we have 6 minutes left, and I would love to ask you, Maria, what are the top 3 things that you're going to take from this stream?
Oh, I'm going to take more than 3 things. I would say staying intuitive, constantly just trying to read the room and make sure that I'm reaching out to as many people as possible, talking to everybody, talking to the mailman. And I forgot what you said about the collaboration and not growing too big, but making sure that we're reaching out to as many people as possible. But
yeah, and that's such an important piece, and collaborating is important, but collaborating in a way that's going to be integrated into what your plan is and integrated into your business, and don't necessarily let someone big push in just because they're big.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Either taking small pieces and making something
Right.
of that, or starting.
Exactly, because and believe me, these are all things I speak about because it's happened to me. You know, I've been in many businesses. I've had failed businesses. I've had successful businesses, but I learned a lot from all of them. The ones that worked and the ones that didn't. You know, and there was times where I wanted to partner with somebody, and I did partner with somebody, and it turned out to be an absolute freaking disaster.
Yeah,
because I didn't do my homework. It just sounded good, you know.
it was just off of a whim, off of a feeling.
Yeah, it sounded good. I'm like, yeah, let me go and try that. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
You know?
And then I think obviously the marketing thing, I need to really up my marketing game. And so I'm gonna definitely start to work on that.
Yeah. Well, I certainly would love to have more conversations with you about that. Obviously offline, we can talk about that. And of course, as you and I both know, you do have access to probably one of the smartest marketing minds that I know. So, you know, so that's going to be helpful too.
Yes, that one has been very helpful.
Yeah, so I want to ask Vic if you have other mistakes that you made in your early career that maybe can be related to what Maria is doing.
How about everything?
Well, start with one.
Well, I think probably one of my mistakes, which was right out of the gate, was not understanding how to open up conversations with people, how to network, like the actual art of networking. I didn't understand, and I know I left a tremendous amount of money on the table because I didn't understand that earlier in my career. And when we were talking about how we started this conversation with the elevator pitch kind of a thing, people underestimate how important that really is. They really do. And the ones who take the time to think about it, sometimes it just comes naturally because you've been in business long enough. You kind of like, you know what I mean? It kind of flows, and you see your success rate. And others really grapple with it because they don't really understand the significance of it, and they can't start to read people. I was doing the same thing with everybody, and I'm like, every single shoe is not going to fit every foot. I have got to figure out how to make this a little bit more tailored to the kind of people that I'm talking to. Am I talking to somebody who's a bit reserved? Am I talking to somebody who's like me, who's like all up in it? Am I talking to somebody who's somewhere in the middle? Am I talking to somebody who's early in their career, middle of their career, later in their career? These are all things I had to learn as far as nuances on how I approached people with my, with my opening remarks. So that was probably my biggest mistake, is that I didn't spend enough time and learn earlier. It took me too long. It took me probably several years when it should have only taken me several months if I actually had focused on it.
We have Carrie sharing her top 3. I guess it's Carrie's comment because I can't really see it. So get pitch right in 30 seconds or less, get referrals, warm introductions from happy clients, get hyper-focused on to-dos and to-don'ts, and by day, by week, month, and year.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right on target.
Right on target. Yeah, we have a few minutes left, and I just want to thank everybody who was watching and engaging with us in this conversation. It was wonderful to have you here, Maria. Thank you for coming. I see how confident you are in what you are doing, and I mean, I only see the success in the future in your company. I believe in it, and as Vic said, I would love to get a copy of our Wall Street Journal.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm also want to keep a close eye on when you get onto the stock exchange, because I definitely want a piece of the action.
Oh yeah. I appreciate that. And thank you guys so much. It was so great coming on here and getting to talk about REPSource a little bit. This is the first big marketing recording thing that I've done. So this is
we're just getting started.
Yeah, and I'm happy we were a part of it. So For everyone who's listening to us or watching us, if you want to be a guest on one of our streams, if you want to talk about your business challenges, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to talk with everybody, because we're building a business community and want to help other people, other entrepreneurs to overcome their challenges. And we just started, you're just starting, and we're in the same position, but in a kind of different niche, I would say.
All right. Well, I think we're good. Thank you again, Maria, and thanks, Deanna. This was absolutely awesome, and I can't wait till the next time.
Same here. Thank you so much. Thanks,
All right, we'll talk again soon.
Bye, everyone.